Hey, pastors and presbyters. Bart and I are here today. I'm Scott Murish, and we are excited to talk about this concept of having a rock in the first quarter to move our churches forward. We want to make sure that you are equipped with the tools that you need, but really getting down this very first rock of developing vision and values is massive. So Bart, what is this first quarter rock all about?
Yeah, so in a 2-year strategy, every quarter we're going to have some objective, some rock to move. And vision and values is this first rock. And so let me just kind of share with you what we see as the smart rock, vision and values that you're going to be working on in these first 3 months. We want you to develop a clear vision and set of values, not just that are in your head or out there, but that you actually have written down. You have shared them with your leadership and influencers in your church. And by sharing that, I mean to where they own it. It's not just dictating and telling them, these are our vision and values, but that they've been able to pour into that as well, and that you as a team own those, and then also having communicated them with your community and with your church. And so that's really it, developing a clear vision and values, having them written down, owned and shared by your key leaders and influencers in your church, and communicated well with your church and with your community. That's the goal in 3 months.
Yeah, now 3 months, that's like, really, don't we already know these things? That's the thing that I know when I was pastoring. I'm like, yeah, I kind of know where we're going. But to really process and take the time to meet with your key leadership within your congregation, those people that you know are gonna own this, and have a conversation with them so that they have the buy-in, so that they feel like, yes, this is a reflection of who we are as a body and what we're gonna do within our community.
Great thoughts. If your vision and values are not inspiring people and getting them fired up, you don't have them down yet. They still need to be worked on, because the vision and values are what really should get people excited about where you're going and the culture that you're creating in your church. And so if it's not firing you up, if it's not firing people up, you're not there yet. And that's why a lot of work needs to be done.
Yeah, and as pastors, I mean, we're all communicators, and this is as important, if not more important, than any sermon we ever preach.
That's very true.
And eventually, you're going to be asked to share this with the leadership team.
Yeah, the executive presbyters and the vision team a little bit later on. So we would love to see you come fired up to share that, because we'll know that was really done well.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask the question one more time. Why is it important? Why is vision and values so important?
If you don't know where you're going and the culture that is needed to get there, because values really are the defining phrases or words or sentences of your culture. If you don't know where you're going and the culture that's going to get you there, you won't go anywhere. You won't get there. You might do a lot of good things, but you really won't advance and move like you could if those things are written down, shared, and communicated.
Yeah, and we instinctively recognize when a company or a product or a church or an organization has clear values because we know what they're about.
Totally.
And that's why it's important. So Bart, how are we going to get there?
Well, again, you've got 3 months to really do the heavy lifting in your church to get this done. So a lot of it's going to be on you just to take some time and think through and process. But I think you also need to meet with your key leaders and influencers in your church as well. Get their input, get their buy-in. See if it's starting to motivate them. I guarantee if you do this well, people in your church will be more fired up than ever before, and that's the goal. And so have those conversations, and we actually have some big questions that if you answer these, they're going to help you really get to a clear understanding of what your vision is and what your values are. So I'll just tackle these really briefly, but you have them written down. We have these available for you. But really, these are just, when it comes to the vision, some of the big questions to ask. In 2 years, how will our church be different than it is today? In 2 years, if we go for it, if we get fired up, if God moves, how will our church be different in 2 years than it is today?
Yeah, let me just interrupt there.
Totally,
Bart,
yeah.
Because if you don't have this vision in front of you, we can easily, and I was guilty of it when I was pastoring as well. I just got to get through the next sermon, the next Wednesday night, the next event, and maybe something. But vision and values lets us know we're going to move beyond just our weekly prep.
Absolutely. It'll keep you from getting stagnant, feeling stuck or stalled, shooting out into the wind. Who knows where I'm going, what I'm doing. It just makes all of that super fun and exciting.
Yeah.
Another big question, what types of people will be in our church in 2 years that aren't here now? Dream that, believe that, pray for that. It just fuels your prayer, it fuels your outlook, it fuels your hope. And then how will God have even built up and transformed the people that are currently in our church? That can be part of the vision as well. How are our people that are currently here going to be different if we really take this to heart and follow God's leading in our church?
Yeah, and when you communicate those things, the people that are in your church begin to become spiritually and emotionally and relationally prepared to receive those new people.
Absolutely.
Getting them ready, saying to each other, there are people in our community that we know, and what are we going to do when they come to our church?
Absolutely. And not just that, when you communicate what you want your people in your church to be like, and you communicate that well in a fun and effective way, guess what? They'll become like that.
Yeah.
And that's really fun too. So that's the vision side. The values questions that we want you to answer are, what do we want our culture to look like in 2 years? If God really got a hold of us and His Spirit transformed our church, you might have a great church now, but we're talking God at work here. If God just pours in His Spirit into your church, how is your culture going to be transformed in 2 years? What could it be if you let that? So when you answer that, you start to peel back and go, hey, these are our core values. We want this in our church if that's going to be the culture that we have. Another great question is, what environment do we want guests to walk into when they visit? What do we want our church to be like? What do we want our culture to be like? That's going to help you determine these are our values. This is who we are. This is who we want to be. This is how we operate as a church. This is what we value. Those things are going to be crucial.
Yeah, it is crucial because people will establish their expectation of a church on how they feel from the moment they walk in the building.
Yeah.
Not just the greeters, but the presence of the building and all of those things. And it's tremendous.
Yeah. So accountability is absolutely key. And that's why we want to encourage you to meet every single month as a board. So presbyters, DAC pastors, any other pastors that are a part of your board, we want you meeting every month. And for these first 3 meetings that you do, this is going to be the primary rock you are focused on. Are we getting our church fired up about our vision? Are we defining the culture through our values that God is wanting to instill in our church? And do we know how to communicate that well so people get on board, they get fired up? And again, when you share this with the executive presbytery, we really want you to be fired up when you share it, because if you've done this well, you'll be pretty passionate, and we would love to see that. And so I'm excited to hear testimonies 2 years from now, but we've got to do this hard work of creating vision and values. And so let us know if you have any questions. We're here for you. Any closing thoughts or remarks, Scott?
I do want to say, don't wait and think this is going to be something simple, but take the time to process. Call us, talk to us, and we really want to help make this great.
Yeah, we'll be throwing resources out there over the course of the 3 months to help out. But yeah, by all means, reach out to us. We love you. We're praying for you. Let's move.